Recently, I did a video critiquing about the weight loss injection. Following that, someone reached out to me who had obviously been on it and has subsequently now transitioned onto carnivore. Here is the interview with Oliver. Hi, welcome back to the Primal Lifestyle. And today I've got a guest that's really an interesting guy to hear. Now, basically, about a month or so ago, I did a video about the slimming injection, and I'm clearly not very pro it. And Oliver reached out to me, so I'm going to get him on board now. So, welcome, Oliver. Tell us your story.
Hi, Carl. How are you?
Fine, very good, Oliver.
Good. Yeah, no, it's interesting that I saw your post a few months ago. I've got personal experience with struggling with weight loss and also tapping into weight loss support, whether it be from injections, etc. My particular remedy was semaglutide, not Ozempic. The semaglutide side of it is a GLP-1 still, but it's Mounjaro rather than Ozempic. So both doing very much the same thing. And in the middle of November, I started taking it, and I took it for 2 months. Now, that initially kicked off quite a substantial weight loss. It's about 15 kilos. But with that, it's a bit of a false economy. You're losing a little bit of muscle mass, etc. as well. So I was training really, really hard to try and counteract those effects. And I had really good success with it. The reason why I reached out was there's lots of negative viewpoints, or I don't want to say uneducated because I don't mean that, but negative viewpoints on the weight loss pen, people saying it's a cheat system and all that, and not giving credit to people who take the weight loss medication and then really make the most of it and really optimize it. Because I think if you're looking at mental health and how people are born, everybody has different remedies for stress, for anxiety, for happiness, etc. And my particular remedy for that was eating. Some people have a far bigger control button or control mechanism when it comes to food and that power it has over you. But I personally, my food noises were very, very loud and uncontrollable. So what I found Mounjaro or the weight loss injections did is really level the playing field where, I am neurodivergent as well. So there are different things at play where my level of control might be slightly different to somebody else's. It really helped level the playing field so I could control that food, control my intake, and then really focus on my fitness journey. Unfortunately, I'm one of the small percentage of people that actually had side effects that I couldn't see. I just happened to have quite extensive blood tests 2 months in, and it turns out it was having quite a negative effect on my liver. So I stopped taking the Mounjaro, and while obviously on the Mounjaro was on the keto diet, so the carnivore, eating lots of single source proteins with some organic fruits as well, and I continued that diet even after I stopped the Mounjaro injections. Along the same time, I discovered that I had very low testosterone, and went down the process of getting my bloods checked for that specific issue. And it turned out I had more than half the amount of testosterone that, again, would be a level playing field for, a man in their 30s, 45 years old. So testosterone does reduce a little bit, but not to that extent. And that has the side effects of depression, anxiety, overeating, lack of food control, low digestion, etc., which are all the things that I've been facing over the past few years, which made me get up to 138 kilos, which is quite substantial. I'm 6'2". I was definitely overweight. I think there's some before and after pictures floating around somewhere.
You'll see on the thumbnail, yeah.
Yeah, and it changed my life. The testosterone not only increased and this is therapeutic levels. This is what in the terms we'd call HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Women have it for menopause. And I think the male side of menopause, let's call it, is really disregarded in the medical industry in this country. Across the world, they are so forward thinking. In America, they've lessened antidepressants by 30% because they've been going down this testosterone replacement therapy for men. And it took me out of a 2-3 year depression, it helped me maintain my diet, my weight loss trajectory to the point where now just over 6 months in, I've lost 38 kilos and put up a substantial amount of muscle as well, and really changed not only how I feel about myself, but, you know, my cognitive ability, and sorted out a lot of low-lying issues that were affecting me, which have been caused, and all kind of roads lead to that low testosterone that I think was degenerating over the last 5 years. So that's why I thought I'd reach out, because I've been on this journey, and I know initially it was about the weight loss injection, but I just thought it was a story that was worth sharing, especially both being men of a certain age. You know, we all have people from the age of 40 onwards who have, you know, suicide in men from 40 onwards is a massive epidemic. And it's no coincidence that is when testosterone starts to lower. And if people aren't getting the support they require from the NHS, or people aren't looking at what the real causes of these things are, then I believe it's an epidemic that we will look back in years to come and really potentially shame the medical industry.
No, I think that's a very valid point. So are you on any treatment now? Obviously, you mentioned that you had the original injections to kickstart, but obviously there was an issue with the liver. So what are you at now? Yeah,
so this TRT will be for the rest of my life. It's 50 milligrams of testosterone and anthate every 3 days. That's it, which brings my levels up to, and it's the American measurement, but a normal standard is around 10. And people from the UK can look at what the equivalent is in the UK. And I was at 4. I'm now at 950. So I'm pretty much in the optimum levels of somebody in their 30s to late 30s who wouldn't have the testosterone issues. And because of that, sleep, ability to even just get up in the morning and go to the gym and exercise and make the most of everything, my energy levels have got back to the point that I remember myself. I started not really recognizing myself, and now I feel pretty much reborn in regards to just, you know, zest for life and things like that.
Okay, and now you've transitioned onto a sort of carnivore keto diet?
Yeah, absolutely. So now I've transitioned or continued, because I believe this is now a way of life.
Yeah.
Lots of times I've yo-yoed over the past. My weight loss struggles have been for about 5 years, and I have yo-yoed and tapped into the. In fact, you've seen me over some of those periods of time, and it's been 4 kilos down, great, and then I'll put it straight back on again. And I think lots of guys out there can sympathize with that by not keeping it consistent. But this time it's been consistent. I've viewed it as a way of life, because I think the diet has a massive part to play in my mental well-being, as well as testosterone as well. Because even when I have gone, okay, let's just have a cheat day, or let's have a cheat 2 days, and it's turned into 2 days, the negative effects I get from lack of sleep, sweating at nighttime, or just that negative energy, where it almost feels like your body shouldn't be having these refined sugars and all these things that are put into food at the moment. And that's also another reason why, and the medical industry are looking at it now, going, why there is such a decrease in testosterone in men compared to 20 years ago, because of all the processed foods and chemicals that we have in our body. You know, some people have cured low testosterone just by switching to single source protein diets and things like that as well. I wasn't lucky enough to have that singular benefit, but it's definitely a way forward.
See, I'm interested. You said that you think you're on the hormone, the male hormone replacement for life, because I found since I've done carnivore, and I'm coming up to my 2-year anniversary, my testosterone side of it is massive, to the point that the wife rolls her eyes at me most of the time, you know? So do you not envisage that by going that carnivore route that you might be able to reduce that side of it? Or do you actually think your body naturally requires that additional?
I get regular blood tests, and I'm open to anything to maintain where I am at the moment. I believe I've really hit the sweet spot in regards to my lifestyle, the work-life balance, how I feel, you know, personal life, etc., and the cognitive side of things as well. So anything I can do to stay within that sweet spot that is naturally that is beneficial to me and with no risk, I'll absolutely look at it. And it's those regular blood works. I mean, like I said, you know, your testosterone levels are high, so you must be getting blood works as well. And it's important to keep doing that.
Yeah, agreed.
There are negative side effects to just taking testosterone. There could be male pattern baldness if you have that genetically in your family and things like that. I don't have that so far, so we're all good. So I definitely would be open to looking at other options, or even seeing if I could sustain it with my current diet moving forward. But at this point in time, because I've been on that journey, I thought let's embrace that treatment along with the single source protein and see where we go. And it's been 6.5 months, 38 kilos is quite a substantial
that is
amount of weight. So
honestly, when I saw you come on screen, I said to you before we started recording that, my God, you have changed so much in the short period of time that I've seen you. So
yeah, absolutely,
and for the better, by the way. You know,
thank you.
You're an ugly bugger before. No, but no, that's really good. So for anyone that's interested then in feeling they can relate to the issues that you've got, are you doing this through the NHS or is this private?
So the NHS is very, very backwards in regards to this. I mean, this is not conspiracy theory stuff, so I won't touch on it too much because it'd be slightly controversial. But
we'll put our tinfoil hats on in a minute.
Exactly. Big pharma and all that can make so much money from all these antidepressants and so on. And I was thrown a million different antidepressants that had a million different and negative side effects that actually made me way worse. And not once did they mention testosterone and blood tests or anything like that. I had to go down the Joe Rogan rabbit hole and was suggested and ended up getting tests done privately through. Am I allowed to mention brands on here?
You can mention what you like, you know.
There's a company called Thriver, and they do blood tests for £20 at home, which is just testosterone. You send it off in the post. It comes back 2 days later, and that highlights the levels of testosterone you have. They don't provide the treatment. There is a treatment that they do the blood tests and the treatments, which is either a steroid cream, a pill, or an injection in your muscles or in your backside. And it's that's called Manual for Men. And I went down the Manual for Men process. And within a week, I could already see that it was life-changing. It probably rescued my marriage. It did a lot of things that really benefited my life, just because to feel alive again is pretty important. And I'm sure, I know that the diet along with the testosterone treatment, because you could eat all the rubbish in the world and have testosterone and not lose the weight. So, it's 70-80% of it is the diet, as they always say. I train 1 to 2 times a day as well on top of it. So that healthy lifestyle and healthy eating, along with making sure that I'm at my optimum levels, has been the key to my success. But everybody has slightly different journeys and stories to tell when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, I've always said we are our own living experiments, what we do with ourselves. So you stay away from processed foods totally now?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm fortunately as well, I'm celiac, so I can't have wheat and gluten and things like that. So it does help to a point, but I stay away from processed foods. Definitely won't go to a fast food or anything like that whatsoever. And it's buy all my meat from a butcher rather than supermarkets. And it's to be honest, it's such an easy diet to manage, and it's such an easy lifestyle to get into. Once you get into it and you can eyeball, I know that's my right amount of protein levels, or that's the right amount of, fruit that I need to have in the day, etc. Within 2 months, you can just look at it and just know. And the prepping inside of things, it's so easy to do, to fry a steak in 5 minutes, or to prep your chicken for the week or whatever it might be. That's if you're out and about. There's really no excuse, although it's easy to find them.
Yeah, that's very true. So, and what about fat intake? Do you take on animal fat as well? Because obviously that contributes towards hormone balance.
I do. Yeah. So one of the tips, I started putting organic butter in my coffee and things like that, which is great.
Yeah,
exactly. Frying all of my steaks in butter, and if it's 100% olive oil rather than seed oils, because seed oils there's a whole nother podcast to do on seed oils, but Absolutely. It is toxic beyond belief. Rapeseed, sunflower, all of those things have been marketed in such a way that it's quite frightening. And it's similar to like aspartame. Whoever is behind these researchers that have said aspartame is cancerous, etc. When you look back at it, it's actually the sugar companies that actually are paid for these researchers. If it wasn't for sweeteners and sugar-free drinks and so on, I probably would have fallen off the wagon a few times earlier on, because it helped stop those cravings. But it's amazing what things have been labeled fine for human consumption and then negative to your health, when in reality, if you look down the research, a lot of the time the opposite is the case.
Yeah, well, as you touched upon earlier about big pharma, healthy people don't make profits. You know, they almost want the big food companies to make us ill. So and unfortunately, we have this pop a pill culture, you know, quick fix. And that was where my criticism was towards the obesity side of it, where people think a quick injection solves it. The risk, as you mentioned, things to your liver and things like that. You obviously used it as a kickstart, and then you've progressed and took responsibility, haven't you? So
I did, and I completely understand your point, and your point is really valid about, you know, the obesity side of things. But there are exceptions to every rule, and where there is neurodivergence, or there is a mental side of it's coming to effect, where food is almost treated as a medicine by the brain with your dopamine receptors and all that stuff. Suddenly comparing your control over food to mine is a very, very different story. Because like you said, everybody's medicine is different. Everybody's journey is different. So some people just need that. And to me, it gave me that level of control that, say, a neurotypical person would have had over food to be able to control the diet, because I just couldn't do it. And then since I've stopped doing that, the food noises have not come back. I've re-educated my brain in kind of that risk reward scenario of, you know, what is love and what's not, if you like, and a burger is not love. And it's really helped. Some people might not be so lucky, but for me, it's been a really positive journey. But obviously there are a few roads that I went down to get to where I am now. So
and you've got quite a young family as well. Do you find that you can manage that temptation with children, etc.?
It's amazing how I can sit there and watch them eat an ice cream and have no temptation whatsoever. It's like, that's new to me. My wife has, I don't know how she can put, she's not even there. I don't know what I'm looking at, but she's normally there. It's like my wife, she can sit and eat Malteser after Malteser and stay as skinny as you like, because they have, you know, everybody has a different metabolism. Everybody has a different
I've got a wife like that, unfortunately. I used to put weight on watching her eat. So
absolutely. And that's quite frustrating, but it works for her. That's great. When I was younger, I could do the same. But I don't have any of those temptations whatsoever, because I found different ways for reward. Like, I mean, dates are one for me, which have been, you know, there's 5 dates in a day that I'll eat, and I'll have those for little treats, or my sugar-free apple juice, or whatever, you know, apple tango and so on. But they're my treats now, or even coconut yogurt, those kind of things, which I'll add in small amounts, which helps with any urges. But those urges are 50 times less than they ever have been. And I think because of the diet and the proteins the meat that I've got in my body, you have less urges. It just really dissipates because you're fuller for longer.
Yeah. See, your energy levels just in this is phenomenal. You're supercharged sort of thing. So, you know, I remember before you used to be quite a well-spoken chap, but you know, you always felt that little bit lethargic. Where now you're bouncing. It's almost like talking to Tigger from Willy the Pooh.
I think that might be the ADHD, but my energy levels are incredible. Absolutely. Like for me, compared to how I was over the last 5 years, I don't think I felt this good since I was, I mean, I don't even want to say 30 because I was getting divorced at 30, so I didn't feel very good then. But definitely in my 20s, I haven't felt this good, this energized, this quality of sleep as well that I have.
That's another area I was going to ask you about, is your sleep.
Yeah, I actually wear something called a Whoop. So a Whoop is, I mean, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, the highly advanced fitness tracker on the planet. It does sleep, it does all the different oxygen levels, and it's got an ECG on it, so I can scan my heart readings and all these different things. But what I use it for is sleep quality and analyzing behaviors that I did the night before, which then encouraged a certain level of quality of sleep, and then trying to repeat those cycles to make it work. And since I've been on that diet, and since my testosterone levels have got up to the level that I have, my sleep quality has been amazing. Not necessarily longer sleep, because you can have sleep for a long time and just be in REM and it not be a high quality, but you can have 6 hours of deep sleep rather than 8 hours of light sleep, and you feel far more refreshed and recovered. And this thing has helped massively to not validate it, because when you've had a good night's sleep, but to repeat the healthy habits to make sure I get those good night's sleep.
Yeah, well, it's funny because since I've been on this diet, I've not slept any longer than 6 hours maximum. Normally, it's between 5 and 6. Yeah. I'm up at 4:30 pretty much every single morning. The dog hates it, by the way, but But yes, honestly, Oliver, it's brilliant. So, is there anything you want to add for people watching this that are interested, or anything that they should need to be aware of?
Yeah, and I mean, like I hate to kind of preach these things because I'm not armed with all the information. All I can talk about is my own personal journey.
Well, this is all about personal journeys. This is not medical advice. This is all about sharing our own journeys.
If anybody is experiencing any of the symptoms of weight gain, lethargy, lack of drive, depression, etc., don't just go to the doctor and get a pill. Like you said, this pill culture. There could be so many natural, or when I say testosterone replacement, there are natural hormone balances that bring it in. There are so many more therapeutic ways to solve those problems rather than just going for a pill. A pill will just mask everything, in my opinion. Some people have found massive benefits in antidepressants, so I can't take that away. But there could be other options. It could be something else that's underlying. And I think until you take your own health into your own hands and, go on that journey, you don't know. But I think ask questions, be curious, and speak to somebody else. If men can be a bit more open about what they're going through, I think the world could definitely be a better place.
Oh, that's a brilliant summary, mate. Absolutely spot on. So before we wrap up, mate, great to see you.
You too.
A great tale. Thanks for reaching out for me, because I'm trying to keep this channel where it's a balanced and it's equal. So brilliant. Thank you very much. And all I say to people is stay primal.
Many thanks.